Let me start off by saying I had no idea so many of you guys wanted to see the Twin Snakes re-released or included as part of the Master Collection Volume 1. I've always known this game has its fans, but so many of you guys were disappointed that it got me thinking, why was this game left out? Before we get into its exclusion from the Master Collection, let's quickly go back and talk about why this game hasn't been part of any prior collections either, such as the HD Collection. So this article on DualShockers.com from 2012 gives us a bit more insight into its exclusion from the HD Collection specifically. This is a direct quote from Sean Eystone, which some of you guys may recognize from the Phantom Pain gameplay showcases back in the day. He made this statement in regard to Twin Snakes. Quote, "That was a remake made by Silicon Knights. We supervised it, but we didn't create it directly, and we wanted to make sure that everything in the HD collection was canon. Everything that goes into there is something created directly by Kojima Productions and Kojima himself. So that is the reason why Twin Snakes was not included in the HD collection." End quote. So at least when it comes to the HD collection, the goal was to compile games that Hideo Kojima was directly responsible for, games that he directed himself and that he produced with his team. Luckily, in my honest opinion, that is not the case for the Master Collection volumes. Why do I say that? Because I do think that these Master Collection volumes need to be all-encompassing compilations of all the games, not just the games deemed canon or made by Kojima. They need to include everything. Anything that has Metal Gear in the title, anything that has any sort of relation to the Metal Gear universe needs to be included in these Master Collections. So, with that in mind, why wasn't it included in the Master Collection Volume 1? Why have we gotten no updates on why it was excluded? Well, the first reason, in my opinion, as to why it was excluded specifically is the fact that Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes released on the Nintendo GameCube exclusively, and it also included quite a bit of Nintendo references to different characters and IP. Since we are getting the Master Collection on Sony, Microsoft, as well as obviously Nintendo platforms, it would make sense that Nintendo wouldn't want one of their exclusive titles, even if it's an old title at this point, for one of their previous old consoles, running around these other platforms. So even if it is an old game, maybe they don't want it running on PC, on the Xbox consoles, on PlayStation consoles, right? However, there is a flaw in that line of thought, in that reasoning, and that is that the fact that we are getting two exclusive Nintendo titles already in the Master Collection Volume 1 in the form of Metal Gear for the NES and Snake's Revenge. So that would mean that the only real hurdle left in regard to Nintendo exclusivity are those references to Nintendo characters and IP. If you guys have played the Twin Snakes, very quickly, the best example I have for you guys, and you should be seeing it on screen, are the little Mario and Yoshi figurines on top of Hal's desk in Hal's office area where you fight the Cyborg Ninja, where you fight Gray Fox. If you shoot them, they obviously make the 1-up noise and the Yoshi noise. So those would have to be removed, I believe. Again, I'm no expert in game development or coding or even messing around with textures and modding. Some of you guys are in the comments below. I'm sure you've modded games before. Maybe you're a developer yourself. Maybe you're a programmer. You guys can let me know. But again, I'm speaking out of my ass here, but I do not believe that having to remove those textures entirely or changing them into something else, different models, would be that much of a pain in the ass. Again, I don't know if Nintendo holds the rights to Twin Snakes or if Konami does. I'm assuming that Konami does because it's a Metal Gear title. Metal Gear belongs to them, right? They licensed it out to Silicon Knights and to Nintendo to be able to have it on their console, right? But it is still a Konami IP. So I do believe that they have most of the rights to the game, and if they did replace those Nintendo references and models and maybe references to the Nintendo GameCube controller, maybe they would have to record those lines where either Master Miller or Campbell is giving you instructions and their GameCube controller specific. Maybe they can re-record those specifically like they've done for the HD collection in the past. But I don't think that replacing those models is like this huge endeavor, especially when you compare it to something like Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, and the amount of work that they would have to do to get that game on modern platforms. They would have to go in and take all the Apple product placement and replace that, the Playboy magazine product placement, remove that, and the biggest hurdle would be taking out all the names of real-world guns and their real-world models and replacing them with fakes. So, not to get too deep in the weeds here on Metal Gear Solid 4, but in comparison to Twin Snakes, which is just a few tweaks, I don't think it would be that difficult. Again, I might just be speaking out of my ass here and not really knowing how difficult it is to replace all those things. But Apart from that, there are two main reasons that I think we are not going to see the Twin Snakes, at least not in the near future. The first is that maybe we will see it, but it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be put on like its own Master Collection volume as a bonus game, similar to Metal Gear on the NES and Snake's Revenge. So we're gonna have to wait till Volume 2 or maybe potentially Volume 3 if we even see it. So that's number one, right? We might see it, but if we do see it, it's not gonna be for quite a while. And the second one is maybe we won't see it at all, and that's because Nintendo is planning to add it to their Nintendo Switch Online service. For those of you guys who are not in the Nintendo ecosystem, who have never, maybe you don't have a Switch, Nintendo Switch Online is basically the PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live service for Nintendo, for the Switch specifically. It has a lot of similar benefits. The one that I'm focusing on here is the benefit to play NES, Super NES, I think even like Sega, Genesis games, Game Boy games, and most recently Nintendo 64 games. And if you follow that train of thought, that line of thought, then obviously the next evolution of that would be GameCube games, right? So maybe Nintendo already has it in their minds that they're going to add GameCube games, and the Twin Snakes is part of their lineup. Maybe it's not part of their launch lineup, but they do have the plans to release the Twin Snakes on their Nintendo Switch Online service. So that could get kind of muddy with Konami in terms of including it in the Master Collection, because why would you subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online for that game specifically if you could then play it on the Master Collection? Because I know for myself, if they did release the Twin Snakes on the Switch, I would have subscribed to the Nintendo Switch Online just to play the Twin Snakes and experience it on there and see if there's any improvements on there, right? And making it easier to stream it for someone like me that creates content, someone like me that streams. It is much easier, obviously, to hook up my Switch to my capture card and stream it like that than whipping out the old, Wii or Nintendo GameCube and having to figure out how to stream from there. So that is something to keep in mind. And those are two reasons, or I shouldn't say two reasons, but, that's the main reason why there might be some sort of like talks that need to happen between Konami and Nintendo to get the, to get the Twin Snakes on these Master Collections opposed to just on their Nintendo Switch Online service. And I know there's going to be a lot of people at this point in the video that are going to be like, why are we even wasting so much time? Why are you wasting so much breath on the Twin Snakes? It's the inferior version of Metal Gear Solid 1. Sure, I'm always going to die on the hill that Metal Gear Solid 1 is the better game in every aspect. It sets a better tone. The script is better. The voice recordings, in my opinion, sound better. I know they're worse quality, technically, but I do think it still adds, atmosphere to the game. It adds that sort of mood that everybody who's played Metal Gear Solid 1 agrees that there's a certain mood to the game, and it's not really present there for the Twin Snakes. But I actually went back and replayed Twin Snakes for this video, and I do think that it kind of gets some hate, some unjustified hate. I already mentioned the reasons why Metal Gear Solid 1's the better game, but it does have that same Metal Gear charm to it. It's still a Metal Gear game at heart. It's still a good way to experience Metal Gear Solid 1. Again, I'm always going to die on the hill of telling you guys, you newcomers to the series, please play Metal Gear Solid 1 first, but why not go back and play the Twin Snakes after you've done that and experience it a different way, which is the next point I want to make. We're already getting two different ways to experience Metal Gear Solid 1 in this Master Collection. We're getting the original PlayStation version of Metal Gear Solid 1, and we're also getting the digital graphic novel. With the inclusion of the Twin Snakes, that would make three different ways to experience Metal Gear Solid 1. And somebody commented, I'll try to find the comment and throw it up on your guys' screen for a second. Someone did mention something interesting that I've personally never done, and that's going back and playing, instead of playing the PlayStation, the original version of Metal Gear Solid 1, you go back and actually play the Twin Snakes, then Metal Gear Solid 2, and then Metal Gear Solid 3. And all those games run on a variation of the same engine. They have pretty similar controls. So it would be kind of a cool way to re-experience the series. Again, I don't recommend this as your first playthrough. I would never recommend the Twin Snakes over the original Metal Gear Solid. But for those of us who have played Metal Gear Solid 1 a million times, such as myself, this would be a pretty cool, interesting way to experience it. And again, like I said, the game has charm. It's still a Metal Gear game at heart. You can tell it's a Metal Gear game. Sure, the cutscenes are ridiculous compared to the originals. Sure, some of the voice acting and voicing in general is not as good as the original. But again, if you've already played through MGS1 countless times, why not play through the Twin Snakes? Like I said, I played through it recently for this video. It's super fun. I played through it, watched all the cutscenes, and then I went back and played on the hardest difficulty and saw what that was like. Some of the boss fights are ridiculous, super easy, right? But let's be honest, Metal Gear Solid 1 has never been the hardest game, the original PlayStation version. So it's not really that big of a deal. That's really it for this video, you guys. I just wanted to quickly go over why it wasn't included in the HD collection or any real previous collections, why we might not see it in the Master Collection, or why we might actually see it in a subsequent release, Volume 2 or Volume 3, right? I do think in my mind they're going to have Volume 2. Volume 2 is either going to be Peace Walker, Portable Ops, and then Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. Or maybe they'll throw us a bone and include MGS4 in there, which I'm really hoping for. Make sure you guys watch that video if you haven't yet. My expectations on Volume 2. But maybe they even throw us a Volume 3 and that's all a spin-off. So we're going to get Ghost Babel. We're going to get Twin Snakes. We're going to get Acid 1 and 2. We're going to get Survive. We're going to get Rising Revengeance, right? We're going to get all those games. Hopefully we see something like that. I wouldn't mind a Volume 3 that's just straight up spin-offs, right? For those of you guys who don't care about the spin-offs, who just want the Hideo Kojima games or the main games in the series, you already have Volumes 1 and 2. And then for those of us hardcore, crazy fans that play anything and consume anything Metal Gear, we'll get a Volume 3 that's all the spin-offs. That would be amazing. That would be awesome in my opinion. But that's it for this video, guys. I just want to let all you Twin Snakes enjoyers know I see you guys in my comments. I feel you. I want this as well. Make sure you guys have your, get your voices heard. Tweet at Konami, tweet at Nintendo. Demand answers. Let them know that we want this. This is a game that we want in the Master Collection. It's part of the Metal Gear universe. It's part of the franchise. Let's get it as part of one of these collections. If, again, Konami is setting out to make the most complete collection through these Master Collections. But once again, you guys, just want to make this quick video. I see you guys. Let's get Twin Snakes in the Master Collections. As always, thank you so much for your support. Whether it's through commenting, liking, or subscribing, you guys have been showing me a ton of support lately. The channel is growing super fast. We just got to 7,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much. For those of you guys who have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. I make at least one Metal Gear related video a week with a couple of shorts sprinkled in as well. Once again, you guys, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next one.